Hey folks, what's up? It's me, Vivs here from Slide Nerd. Today, I will show you how to start an activity from your navigation drawer with the help of the onClick listener for the Recycler view. Now, before we do that, I like to show you one website where I have redesigned my app, which was looking like shit so far. So, going to materialpalette.com in your Google Chrome, here you can pick two colors and it will automatically generate the themes that you need for your app. So I'm going to take deep purple and orange, which is basically the theme for Slide Nerd. And if you can see, all the colors are generated at the bottom: the primary, the dark primary, the color secondary, the accent color, everything out here. All you got to do is take these values, go inside your colors.xml here, just paste them out there and make some changes across. Now I have modified the styles.xml as well to support a dark action bar, and in fact the whole dark background out there. And of course I've changed the background color at the bottom with white color. Do whatever you need to do to make your apps look good. So here, if you take a look at the app currently, this is how it looks like. Definitely far better than the yellow shit we had so far. And if you take a look at the drawer again, this is what we have. So now if you click on the item, what we want to do is launch the sub activity, which is currently launched by clicking this icon at the top here and going back from there. Of course, I need to change the icon color, but let's see how we can handle the recycler click right now with different strategies. Let's discuss the three techniques to start an activity from our navigation drawer. The first technique is to go inside our adapter. If you remember very well, we have our view holder class and there's a constructor for it. Inside the constructor, we are given this item view here. If you remember at the top, in the onCreateViewHolder method, the item view is this view which we inflated from our XML by supplying r.layout.custom_row. In other words, it represents this complete layout for this custom row that we have here. And we are going to set an onClick listener on that inside our constructor for the view holder. So we can simply go here, we can say item view.set onClick listener, this here. Make sure that our view holder implements the onClick listener and has the onClick method. Now to start an activity, we would need a reference to the context. You can go at the top in the constructor for our adapter here, where we have taken the context from the navigation drawer and we have stored it inside a variable. Here we can go down and we can simply say context.start activity. We can make a new intent here and we can say context again for this, and then we can say sub activity.class, which I believe is our new class here. So at this point, let's take a look at how this thing runs when we start it. So there you go. With our pre-lollipop device, you simply start here, you click on any of the rows, the sub activity is launched, you click back here, you're back to the main activity. Again, if you go to the lollipop device, again you start Slide Node here, the sub activity is launched and go back and you're back to the main activity. You can click on any item and it's going to launch the sub activity out there. But this is not a good way of doing things. The reason is starting activities is a responsibility that should be there with an activity itself. In other words, your adapter doesn't have to do it. Your activity or your fragment should be in charge of doing such things. So let's see how we can modify this code to support our solution number 2. Now for technique number 2, we are not going to handle this process inside the adapter. We are going to do it inside our drawer. But first, let me give credit to the person who actually came up with the solution for technique number 2. And it was not me. If you go here to the comments of the 18th video of our recycler, if you go down all the way, there is our guy, Yusuf29, who actually proposed technique number 2. He has given the full code here for your reference about how you can do this. And I even asked him for the details about it. And this seems pretty good to me. But I would definitely like to know what you think about this. So go ahead and tell Yusuf as well. What do you feel about this solution that we have inside video number 18 of our material design playlist over here? So let's go and implement that. So first thing I need to do is make another interface here. So I'm going to simply go here and make our interface called onClick. Now this interface is going to have a single method called onClick or something. Actually, I will rename it something different. Otherwise, we are going to get confused between which onClick is actually running, right? So there's our method called itemClicked. Now this has two arguments. One is the view that was clicked and the position at which that particular view was clicked within our recycler view. Now how are we going to use this interface? Very simple. We're going to go to the drawer fragment here and we're going to implement that interface here at the top. So we're going to simply say click listener, and as soon as you do that, you have to override the method which is implement methods here. Click OK. and there's our method from where we can actually start our activity. Now this is pretty simple. All you have to do is write that intent statement here to start the other activity. But how do we actually use this inside our adapter? Very simple. We go at the top here, we have a variable called click listener. Now we know very well that our navigation drawer fragment needs to implement this interface. So we can directly set this with a method here. We can make a method here called set listener. We can say public void set click listener, and this can take an argument that is click listener, over here, and of course we can directly initialize it, and that takes care of setting things up. So we can go to our drawer now, and you know very well that we can call the adapters method that we just created. We can go up somewhere inside on create or on create view where we have initialized the adapter. Here we have initialized the adapter. We can simply go here and we can say adapter dot set click listener, and we can pass this inside. This simply indicates that the fragment is the object which implements the click listener. So here, if you go to the views adapter class here, when the set click listener is called, here you get a reference to the fragment which is actually being stored inside this variable. So here at the bottom, we can directly call that method inside our onClick method over here. Now we need to check if we actually called that method. Now it's possible that you did not call that method at all. In that case, the variable will be null here. So we first do a null check, simply say if click listener not equals to null, then we trigger the appropriate call by saying click listener dot item clicked, and now we can pass the view, which is v in our case, and the position can be simply retrieved by calling get position over here. So if you go back to the drawer fragment, now we can copy the code for starting the activity here inside this method at the bottom, which is item clicked. So here I can simply say start activity, new intent. I can say get activity for the context here, and sub activity dot class over here. That would work the same way. So now let's take a look at what I exactly did here. First, inside our adapter, I made an interface. Now I went to the drawer, I implemented that interface at the top, which means I have to override that method here at the bottom. Now at the same time, in the adapter, I made a variable that is the interface that we just created. Now I also made a method here called set click listener that lets you set an object that implements that interface. In our case, it's our fragment that actually implements that interface at the top, and hence we can simply call it by saying adapter dot set click listener and pass a reference of ourselves into that method, which is going to be assigned here at the bottom to our set click listener inside this. Now we can directly trigger it in the onClick method, but we first check if it is not equals to null, because if the user doesn't call adapter.setClickListener here, if this statement is not called anywhere, then that variable ClickListener is going to be null, and we don't want a null pointer exception in our code anywhere. So we check it and simply trigger the method at the appropriate time. Now getPosition will give you the latest position of the item that is being selected by the user currently when you hit the onClick out here. And of course we have followed the technique of the first technique that we discussed so far, and this completes our full second technique. So let's run this and find out what happens. So at this point things are running. If you start the main activity, click on Webs, there you go. That's our activity getting launched out here. Again, you can try it with any item. You launch the sub activity and you're back to the main activity. Now this technique is pretty much like an extension of the first technique that we discussed, as you saw in the code. But I prefer this technique over the first one because here we get to start the other activity from within our fragment, or we can actually take it all the way to our activity as well. We don't write code for doing this inside the adapter, making our adapter very flexible. In other words, we can use the same adapter with some other class that uses a similar recycler view as well. And we don't have to modify anything, maybe except changing the arguments for this item clicked method that we have in the interface. So this covers our technique number 2, which is as per Yusuf, and I owe him for that. And if you do think this is a good method, do let me know in the comments. Now let's take a look at the third technique as well. Now this has already ended up being a pretty long video, and hence I'm not going to discuss technique 3 in this video currently, because technique 3 is twice as big as the first 2 techniques that we discussed so far. Now since we have access to the position inside the item click method, you can start the appropriate activity from here using a switch case statement. But to actually make a single navigation drawer across all the activities in your app, you'll have to do some better object-oriented coding than that. In other words, you'll have to make an abstract class, and you'll have to override a set content view or some strategy like that to ensure that you have a same navigation drawer which is being attached to a single abstract activity, and all your other activities are extending from that abstract activity. Once I finish discussing technique 3, I will discuss this somewhere down the line, since I have other things like animations as well to cover, which people have been asking so far. So if you like what you saw, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to SlideNerd, and let me know your thoughts in the comment boxes below. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a nice day.